Position. Fit to screen. There we go. How come that always starts off as the wrong size? Okay, gonna do some Kerbal. Some more Kerbals. Oops. Okay. Got all set up. Let's dive into it. Resume. I think I did a couple satellite missions just to bring in some money and some science. Didn't get a whole lot done. But we will see. What contracts do we have? Place a satellite in equatorial orbit of the Mun. Okay. Let's open up my current satellite. Interesting. Oh, it's just the wrong size to fit in the preview. I don't remember how much leftover fuel I had from this. But since we're going to the Mun, we're going to redo it. Not just slightly. Check the contract terms. Unmanned probe, antenna, power generator, reach orbit. Have material bay. Have mysterious goo. Maintain stability for 10 seconds. All of those are doable. Save. Launch. Might need to reorder one thing. There we go. Yeah, just a few satellites in orbit. I don't want to deorbit any of my satellites, and I just want to see how busy this starts looking. Take as many satellite contracts as possible. Alright. So, start off at full throttle and then bring it down as needed. Solid boosters are actually quite strong. I'm going to merge those two stages. I knew I'd need to do something like that. Should have moved the solid boosters. They're blowing exhaust right on the liquid booster. And now the boring part. And since it's live, I can't just time accelerate it. Do not time accelerate this. I'm surprised this game is still single-threaded. I guess they're working on multi-threading it. There's just so much physics calculations that you'd want to... Shit. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's, Let's try that one again. Whoops. That was a... If I was real hardcore, I'd turn off the revertibility. I'm not that brave, though. I might do a playthrough like that. I could get talked into it. See, now we've added a bunch of drag right down there, and our center of mass is here, so hopefully that pulls us. The problem is that this capsule on the nose is generating a lot of drag because of how much wider it is. So as soon as you get a little off, as soon as you get your angle of attack, which is the difference in the direction you're facing versus the direction you're traveling, the higher your angle of attack, the bigger problems you're going to have. I know this is a stable amount of thrust. Oh, and this thing, the original, wiggled so much, so now I've got the little beams holding the solid boosters to make them stable, and then I've got the longer beams, cables or whatever, just to keep the rocket itself stable. So I'm going to tilt just a little. Keep it within, I want to say the circle down here is 5 degrees. So keep the angle of attack within 5 degrees of my direction. And let's just liquid fuel. We're almost a third of the way through one tank. Still not accurate. I wonder why they do that. I don't like to do a sharp gravity turn until... Ooh, I'm slowing down. We're still in atmosphere, even though it's getting thinner. That should be stable enough. 30,000. Even if we're not... I know we are accelerating, but even if we weren't accelerating, we're still adding energy. My altitude, 27, almost 30. The atmosphere in this game gets real thin once you get above 25 and almost non-existent above 30. So you can start increasing your angle of attack. Probably not the most efficient way to launch, but I like to get out of the atmosphere as quick as I can. Alright, satellites don't have... The reaction wheels are pretty underpowered, so roll is pretty tough. Should have lots of fuel. Liquid fuel. Yeah, we still got 1,000 liters. So at 50 kilometers, there's still an atmosphere, but it is very, very thin. If you don't have enough fuel to exactly deorbit, you could get in an orbit that dips down into the 50-kilometer range. Okay. Get an orbit down in the 50-kilometer range, and there would be enough air drag that after several orbits, you would actually deorbit. It would take a while, so if you're playing with any mods that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Life support. If you have to deal with life support, it's not going to work. So I'm going to give this a serious push now. That apoapsis is not yet above 70, which is kind of what we need. And we're about out of main fuel. Okay. And now we've also exposed our satellite. And our reactions are much better. Okay. That's actually getting out ahead of us, but we're not exactly going for the most efficient orbit, just a quite efficient orbit. I don't even know if this is enough rocket to do what we're trying to do. So we need... Okay. Crap. Wrong key. Wasted a fair amount of fuel, but not as much as could have. I need to figure out the opposite of that. Add maneuver! These maneuver nodes, before I knew about them, this game was much harder. Okay, we want to pass just... That's not the right... Oop, come on. That's actually not far off. Let's go with that one. Wow, the controls on this are just... I need to unlock a better satellite because the gyros in that module suck. I don't want to waste all my electricity. We're still in the shadow of Kerbin. When the thrusters are burning, you can use the thrust vectoring. I actually recently did some overclocking, and I just checked the thermometers, and it's not running very hot. Though, this is not a super intensive game, but processor at 40 degrees, graphics card at 54 degrees, that's not exactly hot. Hey, we have sunlight, so we have electricity. If we click on the yellow line, warp to next maneuver. Now we've got better controls. We've got the thrust vectoring, so it's much more responsive. I want to be as precise as possible, and I'm not using any mods to autopilot the ship or anything. How come this stage only doesn't really work? Uh-oh. Okay, come on. We want to pass just in front of the Mun. There it is. Close enough. Let's turn off any electronics and we'll just warp over there. Before we get too close, let's see if there's any science I haven't done yet. I've been trying to do as much as I can, whenever I can. Nothing. Nothing. And nothing. That's a high Mun orbit. Whoa. That's a close approach. We've got quite a while though before we get there, so let's double check our science. I tried to get as much Mooner science as possible. Though I did have some mysterious goo accidentally explode off a ship recently. Okay, let's do a stable orbit before we do actually. Warp here. I get that that's not an ideal place to be entering. I'd like to be more out at that 300 mark, but I can change the orientation of the orbit. I've got a lot of fuel and just a tiny engine to do long, slow pushes. Looks like I'm all set on science. I probably wasted some money. Well, they wanted me. The contract wanted me to have some, and I went with 2s because I like to make the load balanced. It's actually quite a big deal when doing an orbital payload. And we're just going to do a long, slow burn. Thankfully, that's an equatorial orbit, so that's really easy to keep stable. Okay, let's get in close. There's no mountains on the moon that are 19 kilometers tall. There's no mountains on Earth that are 19 kilometers tall. There is on Mars. So we'll line up the periapsis right now. Actually, we're just going to make sure we have a not circular, a stable lunar orbit. Thankfully, in the low gravity, it doesn't take much energy to make big changes. We don't need much fuel. We got more than enough. Even with my botched entry into lunar orbit. Okay, right here I want to do another burn. Just forward. Not quite, that's why I wanted to do a node. That's pretty close.